It's time for another Linux Gamecast Weekly. So, lock up your kids.
Hide your wives.
And your confused young man.
Coming up on Linux Gamecast Weekly, Unity brings the WebGL, Steam throws some green, Nekro goes early access, and Warsow breaks out the lipstick. Then we throw the chairs at Rocketbirds. Hardboiled Chicken. All this, plus your 8 mail. Let's go. And welcome back to another Linux Gamecast Weekly, the show that covers the latest Linux gaming news, reviews, how-tos, and most importantly, whatever the hell else we come up with. This week is no exception. We even have a bit of a PSA. But joining me, Vin Stone, switching the boards at LGC Actual, from Athens, up in Canada land, Massasfang, and Mr. Monteus, from across the pond, in his fabulously red shirt.
Which means he's going to die this episode.
I know. Looking forward to it. Before we get started, we'd like to play a game
About
called
time.
Let's See What's Been Going On in Each Other's Lives. This week for me, I tried to get on the Aereo bandwagon. If you don't know what that is, die in a fire. Doesn't work on the Nexus 10. Works on the Linux desktop. Completely useless because I'm not going to sit in the computer and watch live TV. So there is that. J-Man.
I'm in the process of overhauling the audio setup here. Bought a mixer. Need to buy a new AT2020 with XLR type things, and I'm waiting on cables to show up so that I can just send this guy here to Pedro, and the T Brown Memorial mic marches on.
Continues its journey.
And earlier in the week, I went to my interview. As soon as I got out of the interview, a couple hours later, they gave me another call. Hey, can you come back tomorrow for a second interview? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So by the end of it, the guy who interviewed me actually said that he liked me and he would call me next week to set up maybe the final interview.
All you have to do is stick his penis in your mouth, and you got the job.
And that's brilliant.
I hope not.
Let's not forget Chat Realm Dynamic. They're up to their normal holiness, helping us form just a little bit of Cocaine Voltron. But speaking of holiness, J-Man, holiness?
Yeah, you can watch us whore ourselves out at LinuxGameCast.com. Click on the podcast link. No, click on the fucking chat realm link. Forums. Yes, we have a forum with all that is miraculously active all of a sudden. It's been dead for a few weeks, but it's back. And with updated LGC drinking game rules and how to make your XFCE desktop ready. And of course, we have youtube.com/LinuxGameCast, where you can see my lovely face chatting at you people. Got players' videos, we got how-tos, B-reels, all that good stuff. Rate, comment, and subscribe, blah, blah, blah. And, of course, we have our favorite social media service of all time, Facebook, facebook.com/LinuxGameCast, run by this possibly soon-to-be unemployed Mexican. All he has to do is swallow
possibly
some shit.
soon-to-be employed.
Shh.
Please?
Just, you know, all you have to do is suck your interviewer's cock. And for more cock sucking, go to reddit.com/r/Linux_gaming, where they will give you comprehensive instructions on how to smoke pole and also more Linux gaming debauchery. And of course, because, you know, Pedro has been funding this entire project out of pocket. So if you want to help him out, you can go onto linuxgamecast.com/podcast. We got some donato buttons. Recurring donation of $3.50 or $10 a month gets you a producer's credit at the end of the show, so you can show your friends how you make terrible financial decisions. And a one-time donation of any amount gets you on our little wall of shame of our glorious Linux gaming PC Master Raid list.
Yep.
But you know, maybe you have an idea for a podcast of your own. Maybe you want to have a site about
Jordan.
what?
I'm gonna let you finish, but I have this idea. I was looking for a host for my new website, French Quadriplegic Midgets Gone Wild.info, but I have nowhere to host all those 37 megabyte raw pictures. Can you?
Well, you saucy bitch, you should check out HostGator.com.
Wow, you're
Our
not kidding.
sponsor.
Schnappy has got the hosting for you. You can put it into him raw, and he'll still give you a big toothy grin. But we're talking about unlimited web hosting that is easy and affordable. That means unlimited disk space, bandwidth, easy control panels, 100 quid Google AdWord offer, 99.9% uptime starting at just $3.96 a month, and for 20% off. But, J-Man, I got something to say to that 20% off.
That's the best we're going to get, and we should be happy with it.
No! I'm going to say fuck it, because on checkout, enter our offer code of Seizure-tastic Seizure-ness, LGC Week, FTW, and you're going to get an amazing, mind-blowing, ear-pussy, and eye-pussy shattering idea.
Ooh.
You're going to get 25% off that business in your face.
In your face hole.
So, how about we educate John?
Yeah,
yes,
so,
Uncle Ben. Tell us
you want to go
about
back to Earth? You want to introduce your alien friends to Earth?
We talked about Earth 2066 last week, I do believe. Or a week before?
Yes,
Two
one
weeks
or
ago,
the
yeah.
other. I think it was
2 weeks ago. It was 2066 first and put of. Before I even get started, I think Sterling had some things to say about this, didn't he, P-Man?
Oh yes, Mr. Jim Sterling. If you don't know who he is, god damn it, take a shot.
I thought you were talking about
just
Sterling
Google
Archer.
his
but-
name. He's got plenty of that on videos when it comes to gaming, and he nailed this bitch right there.
Well, some of the biggest issues, before we even get into what we're going, is it's a shit alpha of things. Nothing works. Physics are all busted. There's no plot, random sounds and all that. And everyone started complaining in the forums and not realizing the Streisand effect, this tool of a devel just deleted the entire forum and restarted it, calling it like the troll nest or something.
Yep.
But it's just right back. But Lapino, Lapio, so, some keys. He's like, here, I can't get the repo to work. Maybe you can figure it out. Installed it. Went to install. It's like Z-byte download. So I was like, P-Man, here, key, do your thing.
Yep.
Then after he got done
byte.
on the webcam, he installed it, tried to download it, same thing. Z-byte download. Get in the forums, and this guy is like, well, there seems it's just we had no complaints from our other Linux users. So I was like, okay, allow me to retort. But in the Z-byte download, and then Pedro again, Z-byte download. And here's the brilliance of this. He comes back, he's like, well, you see, there's two different versions of the key, and somehow we have this magical key that only has the Windows version enabled.
Apparently.
Because, Steam Play isn't a thing.
And I was like, yeah, magic. And it's a fucking Unity board. So, I mean, these guys aren't even competent enough to get a Linux build of the Unity game up and running. So run from this motherfucker. Stay away. If this actually remains on Steam, I'm just going to, go ahead.
Even better. Do go to their Steam store page, hit the flag, and report it as a fraud. Valve's bound to at some point at least get rid of it.
Yay. But speaking of Valve, and speaking of getting rid of things, what's that noise?
Clip it.
I hear-
Is it the snowman? The snow horse?
I hear clopping on the roof. Is it Santa Claus? No! It's Santa Gabe and his bag of dicks with our Steve.
Lex!
So apparently
Necrophilia
you guys are
is a
fans of
thing.
Toronto area rapper Nekro.
Yes.
Oh, it's not about shagging corpses? Psst, I just lost all interest in this game. No, you're looking at some of the concept art, we're looking at some regular art, and second I scroll down, it was like, Access Games needs a bag of dicks. And normally,
Yeah.
you would be right, but not this one. I decided to pick up a couple of copies for everyone here on the show and pass them around. Turns out, this is a fun little real-time strategy game. I guess, what would you call it, P-Man? A MOBA-ish type?
Yeah, it's got that MOBA control type things. It plays a lot like Torchlight,
Mm-hmm.
but the skill system is very similar to a MOBA.
And I liked it, and it's a Unity game, and it really shows that, if you know what the fuck you're doing, you can make a Unity game run very well, and very reasonably for all the eye candy that you're getting thrown in your face, Organ. And I'm definitely going to say, I mean, if you're even remotely interested in stuff like this, right now you can get it 25% off, $14.99, wet sticky, caches. Go ahead and pick it up.
Edition is only $2 more.
Right, cross-platform multiplayer. I'm sure we're going to be rocking and rolling with this business in the upcoming weeks, and definitely beginning.
Oh, and there's Steam trading cards too. Awesome.
Throwing some trading chairs at them. So, yeah, very happy about that. So, what do we got up next here? Oh, it's your favorite time of the week, P-Man.
Yes.
Oh, Greenlight's still not dead.
More Greenlight. Because apparently it's not dead yet, so they greenlit a bunch more titles. I actually didn't bother going through all of them, but there were a couple of Linux titles in there. Ven, I think you found some you found interesting.
Yeah, well, this blast from forever ago. This game's like 3 or 4 years old. I was like, oh, wow, I know this.
Wasn't this part of like a Humble Bundle at one point?
I don't know. I mean, it's from a German developer that is like, it's open source except for like certain levels and stuff like that. It's not a bad little game, but it's not really a great little game.
Kind of looks like Chip's Challenge in a way.
It's a physics platformer, but they also have this little beauty that needs to come to daddy.
Yeah.
Go-karts!
Kart sim.
And believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, that's Unity.
Yeah, that
So-
is Unity, and it does not look like it at all.
Well, that kind of does, but
Well, that's what happens when you don't use the stock art assets.
Yeah.
some say he's in a Unity game.
Yeah, that ambient occlusion kind of gives it away.
So that's
And then there was Flash Out, which
Flash.
looks a lot like Wipeout on a Unity budget.
Well, originally it's an app, so
Yeah.
they're moving that over, but I mean, it's a good-looking app. So,
It is.
and as long as it has
It
that
is.
cross-platform multiplayer, I'm happy with anything that remotely resembles racing. So,
Yeah.
I'm good on that.
You
Definitely going to pick
racist.
that up. I'm a speed racist if there ever was one, but that's nothing new. Tell me about this chaos, though. It looks kind of interesting.
Yeah. I was going through the list and I found Chaos, and I'm like, yeah, this looks interesting. And then I watched the trailer all the way to the end. Oh my god, it's Unity-tastic, and look at that.
I don't know. That really is pushing some PS2 graphics right there, man.
Yeah, it looked kind of nice as the trailer started. It's some, creepy looking dungeon, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I can excuse the terrible graphics if, the rest of the game has some love put into it, and it doesn't. There was also Neon Shadow though, which
It's
they
number
claim,
one on Ouya.
yeah, which they claim is the number one on the Ouya, but it is a lie.
So
It's-
all thousands of user voted for.
The number one game on the Ouya is Towerfall, and it's not even number 2 either. It's number 4, number 5 most sold game on the Ouya. So yeah, basically all you do is play Quake as a faux HK-47, and it's
You
not. I just figured I'd mention it because it's a joke, really.
A joke. But Pedro, I think you're a bit narcissistic.
I really did think that said
A
narcissist.
bit, just a bit.
Narcissisu!
Narcissisu.
So,
Fuck you,
so-
Will.
So this is a visual novel, and this is the
Something's gonna have
this is the
sex
verb
with
they
it.
have. Yeah, there's gonna be tentacles, but it says this is a story of disease and suffering, of medication and adverse effects. Oh my God! Look at all those nipples.
Wait, does it say ding? No, fries are done.
Of thoracotomy scars and cellular poisons, of the living who cannot help but to die, and of the dying who cannot help but to live a resting place other than 7F or at home. And apparently, if you scroll down to the comments section, everyone is going, "Oh my God, it hit me right in the feels. I can't stop crying. Oh my God, it's a beautiful game. The tentacles made me cry." I don't know. I'm certainly not one for visual novels, but it seems to be getting a good reception if you're into it. I know Ven gave it the give a fuck-a-meter test and didn't work out
Well,
too well.
that's the whole thing. But it does come in at a very reasonable free. So,
Yes.
Yeah.
P-Man, are you going to be playing that?
No, I downloaded it and I was looking at the download progress bar and I'm like, why? I'm not gonna
Why?
play it.
It's kind of like your dad every time he looks at you.
It's like, why? Why didn't I wear a condom?
Well, that's his problem. now.
But you know, let's go down that rabbit hole maybe.
Oh, Rabbit Hole 3D, you say?
Okay, so this is certainly interesting. This is you remember to the awesome. This is like a shittier version of it, but with more Lewis Carroll and more pixels. And the whole idea is you are diving through a like a sentence by sentence reading of Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland, and you're trying to spell the word rabbit hole.
I
And
shit you
like,
not. This looks like something somebody made because they lost a bet. Like, I bet you could.
And I mean, at the price of $3, not even $3.50, it's $3. I mean, that's about how much effort went into this actual game.
I've seen some shit games. I was looking at like the hook jerk movement, and the whole point is like, oh, find ways. I was like, how lazy can you be? And it's not the laziness that blows my mind. It's what J-Man just said. They want you to give them 3. No, couldn't do it.
That is like literally 2 candy bars, and you'll get more enjoyment out of those candy bars than you would
Seriously.
out of this game.
Go to Starbucks, get a cup of coffee for that much.
No. If you want to
for a
save
cup
it,
of
you should
Starbucks.
replace the Alice in Wonderlands with like Putin Obama fanfic.
With Mein Kampf.
Mein Kampf, yes. So that's definitely going to be.
But you know, you can buy your development tools on Linux, or not on Linux now, on Steam now. So this is Wang IDE 5 because it's apparently the most advanced Python IDE ever for people who don't know how to use idle or a text editor.
And amazingly, they made a video for it. Brilliant.
They made a video for it, and
Ooh.
if you feel like forking out. Oh, it's on sale now. Until May 7th, it is $75. Otherwise, it's $100.
Or if you
Unless you want to buy the
commercial.
commercial edition, in
Particularly
which case
cheap.
it is $200 or $150 until May 7th. But again, if you cannot figure out Python, then you should definitely spend $200 on this piece of software.
Yes.
I was just looking at it, and it was like, if the Blender game engine has taught us anything, is like, don't use Python for a game engine.
No, because Pygame is actually pretty decent, but Blender, yeah, don't use Blender for
Good
it.
lord. It's like
No.
movement sludge factory. That's the whole thing with that. For certain use cases, I mean, real men use Perl, but hey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read all
Perl
my
the
games in Perl. And then when I try to debug them, I build a log cabin and I shoot myself in the head.
Because you're a Canadian.
But a game that may as well have been developed in Perl. God damn it! Take another shot. I can't English tonight. You may remember a couple of weeks back we mentioned that Humongous Entertainment had dumped their entire back catalog of shovelware into Steam. Well, here's round 2, the dumping. It's
Spy
Freddy
Fox.
Fish 2, Pajama Sam 2, Spy Fox 2, which you can see on screen there, and they're all available for Linux now.
Several games
Yeah,
made
it's-
before many of our listeners were even born.
It still costs $100 to get the complete thing. So, yeah,
Ooh,
shovelware.
and that's money. Well, you know what? It's a better purchase than buying Wing IDE 5, to be perfectly honest.
That's also
So
true.
there's that whole concept.
That's sick. Dude, no even mention of controllers, nothing.
No, it's
No.
it's just point and click adventure games, all of them. So,
Ugh.
yeah.
Ugh. This guy just looks rapey.
This guy
Spy
totally
Fox.
looks like he's gonna stick his nose in somewhere inappropriate.
Yep.
Oh, not enough about your mama. I think we're about done with this segment.
Yeah, no, Santa Gabe is off the roof sometime in May because he's coked up and don't give a fuck. Coming up next,
Cocaine Gave don't
news.
give a fuck.
And now that we've established that Cocaine Gabe is best Gabe, we should probably leave the horse for this week and get into some news. Jordan, I hear you have some marks.
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 Oh, yeah. No, not Deutsche Marks. You're talking about Mark of the old ones. So this is a Metroidvania adventure. We've covered this long time ago, way back in futures past. But they're saying, "Oh, we have a new Linux build," and blah blah blah.
Which is
So
64-bit only.
Actually, one of their devs or one of their marketing guys, Justin, writes, "I understand you can't cover every Kickstarter, but maybe you can cover this one." And so we have. This game is 64-bit only, so Tweedledum and Tweedledummer can't really play it on their 32-bit systems. So I gave that one a shot. Their controller support is completely fucked up. I could not give you any decent opinion on this game's gameplay because I tried it with fake Xbox controller with better D-pad, and like buttons weren't even registering when you try to configure the controller. And then I go on their page and they say, try a PlayStation 3 controller. So I gave it one of these and I assigned all the buttons and it still doesn't fucking work. So there is that. This is supposed to be
something
I don't
tells
know,
me
you're
they're
supposed to be
not
like some
using
sort of
SDL.
blob creature that wanders around and sticks to stuff. I would say it's kind of like Octodad in 2D, but that's giving this game a little too much credit.
Well, you know,
But they have,
fortunately, you know,
but you
4
know what?
days.
They made with the Linux client. They have 4 days to go on their Kickstarter and $8,000 to. No, they have more than $8,000 to raise. Yeah, I don't think they're gonna make this one.
But
yeah.
I mean, throw it in Kickstarter, do a search for Mark of the old ones, not Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, but
Though that one would be a lot more entertaining.
probably
But
would be.
you know what? I wouldn't say this one's a keeper. But this next game, Pedro.
Oh yes, this one is Keeper RL.
What is
it? If you don't know what it is, imagine an open source clone of Dungeon Keeper and Dwarf Fortress, even a bit of dwarfs, maybe. But yeah, they released their new version, Alpha number 7, and they've added 3 new music tracks. Wait, this game had music?
Wait a minute, this looks
okay.
like Xbox One quality graphics.
This looks like the original Dungeon Keeper back in 1993, 4-ish. Yeah.
Back when you
But
could find
yeah,
it on
they've
the
made some new
CD rack
graphical
on Radio Shack.
They've made some new graphical decorations to the UI as well. You can now lock doors. The keeper, your avatar, can work in a lab, and he or she becomes more powerful as the you improve your dungeon. So if you like, time wasters like Dungeon Keeper, if you're a big fan of the genre, give this one a go. It's open source.
Or if you're playing the Android one where you have to pay money to do stuff.
Yeah.
You can get this free
Or wait
open source
24
one
hours
instead.
to mine a block.
So,
Yeah, no.
this came out of nowhere. The Unity, well, not out of nowhere. We had, Levi was plugging the piss out of this around December. He was like, we have a prototype, because he now speaks like Batman this week. On the future of web publishing in Unity, WebGL, we finally discovered this. They have 2 demos, Dead Trigger 2 and Angry Bots. Everyone knows Angry Bots if you ever fired up Unity and played with it. Dead Trigger 2.
How's it run in the browser, Ben?
Well, it runs. I tried it with Foxfire and didn't, just like, all right, I want something that'll really just fucking crash. I wanted to try it on the new Foxfire. And lo and behold, on our octo-core dual 770 thing, yeah, it ran. I didn't have any issues with it. It loaded up and all the scripty things worked. You need like the beta version of Chrome right now because there's a JavaScript bug that keeps it from running. So that's another reason I use Foxfire. And it looked decent. I played Dead Trigger 2, which is like a knockoff of Left 4 Dead 2. It was.
It's an Android game.
It was decently smooth, but you still have some like jarring issues, like load time, because you're thinking this is beta, and when it just like freezes up like zombie Michael Jackson in the middle of like a beauty pageant, boys.
Boy beauty pageants.
You
Nice.
just don't know what to expect, much like Michael Jackson. And you don't know if it's frozen, like genuinely, fuck you, it's frozen, or it's loading. So you kind of like the second you go, what? Then shit starts coming at you again. You're like, fuck. So once I get that, the whole rhythm sorted out, it's going to work fine. J-Man, P-Man, anybody try it? Futz with it?
No, I didn't have time this week. But
Yeah,
credit to the guys at Mozilla for working on EM scripting and ASM.js. Runs shit pretty well.
So that's the thing. You can find it like everything else we talk about. This one in our show notes, but this is blogs.unity3d.com.
But
So we threw some chairs at we threw some chairs at this game.
Nah.
But they have an update apparently.
Because, this was never in beta, it's like it's released. It's just a continuing project. And they have 1.z is out. Well, we'll take a little look at this business right here. This is the official 1.0 here. My biggest issue was because I was like, yeah, we played this a while back. Then I remembered, and I was like, oh, second I launched it. There's no way to get the gerbil controls just so. They're either way too damn high or way too damn low. Even with the new EP extender logic wrap gerbil. But for now, the big message for this is a bug hunt. They claim major optimizations, up to 30% performance increases on some machines. It still takes about 3 minutes to generate the fuck-mothering level, so go make you a cup of tea from that. And there's now state indicators for bleeding, trapped, and starving. Because fuck all, that's what you've been waiting for.
The 30% performance increase is a bold claim, considering it's a Unity game, bold claims. And unfortunately, the biggest gripe I had with this game, it's still not, and it probably will not be changed, which is buildings, houses, and whatnot. They basically amount to cereal boxes with doors painted on them. You can't go in.
Which is because when you're being hunted by robots, the first thing you want to do is run out into an open field instead of finding a secluded spot.
Well, actually, your tweed clothing is like one of your stealth mechanics if you're deep enough in the bush. And the robots can't see you. And me, I'm just like, no matter what map generates, the first town I go into, there's like 3 robots are like, fuck you. I'm like, God, man, fuck you.
And again, you can't pick up your lawn chair and beat them over the head to death.
That's the whole thing. Big-robot.com if you want to get a piece of this action. Runs on Linux. It's available in Steam, also from the Humble Bundle store.
You should go back on our YouTube channel and watch our review for this.
Right. 17 wet stinky caches. So that's definitely a thing. But X-Men.
Well, this was also a thing back in 1996 when the original Grand Theft Auto came out. Top-down shooters were all the buzz. And these guys, they sort of tried to do something like that, but it doesn't have the big extended map like GTA used to have. It has a teeny tiny Counter-Strike type map. And it is very Counter-Strike-ish.
Wait. Did I say 100% free? Like, as opposed to what? 93%?
No, it is a free game. It's priced appropriately, at least. So, but yeah, the game was actually formerly known as Subvane. Now they've changed the name to Mutant Factions. I actually prefer the old name. By default, at least on my end,
more catchy than
at least on my end, and according to a couple of people on Linux_gaming, the game has no sound by default, which is a problem with the lib file that they included, libopenal.so.1. If you just delete that file, the sound works after that. But yeah, it's basically top-down Counter-Strike where you get to buy weapons and vehicles when you spawn, and that's it. At this point, that's all she had.
Well, the thing I need to know is, can you murder a prostitute? Change gear.
Well, that's Euro Truck Simulator.
Yeah.
I think you're barking up the wrong tree if you want that in this game.
Well, imagine a world.
Imagine a world where everything is 2D tiles. So I was fucking surprised when this thing showed up in our show notes. Because I had used this once upon a time to make like Dungeons and Dragons maps for my group.
Well, then, what is it? I've never heard of it.
So it's basically a map editor. You can load like image assets and create maps, and it's really useful if you're making like a 2D platformer game, or if you're making Dungeons and Dragons maps, pretty much. The tool is actually pretty adequate. It supports a wide variety of Linux distros, and compiling it is pretty easy. You need Qt devel, and you need to do the Qt make thing. But other than that, I mean, it's adequate. The one problem you find is finding decent art assets for this thing.
Yeah.
And if you're starting out trying to do some game development, I'd check out opengameart.com for all that good stuff. There's really not much else to say about it. You make maps, you stamp your tiles on there, and off you go.
Cleverly
Supports
hidden
isometric
at
and polygon and all that
map.org.
stuff.
What, P-Man?
Yeah, you could almost say like you can build a world, right?
No.
Build a world. So how much does Minecraft cost these days? I paid like $35 in the beta.
I think it's like
way back
something
when.
like that.
But this is Build a World, which is Minecraft, but with more tiles and Tesla coils, apparently.
And thanks for all the fish.
And thanks for all the fish. You can scroll down and see some screenshots. They're certainly prettier voxels than in Minecraft.
Yeah.
But I don't... they have like competitions for world building and whatnot. But I would not buy this game. What is it? It's free unless you want multiplayer? Was that it?
Yeah, it's free. You can play locally for free, but if you want multiplayer, you have to pay 25 euros. How much is that in dollars, Vin?
30.
I don't know. But what's the euro?
30-ish.
Yeah.
So yeah, you pay over $30 for a Minecraft clone with fancier shaders.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Or you could pay $30 and get a Minecraft subscription.
It looks
and
pretty.
Mod packs.
I'm thinking about it. I'm just looking at this, and just like, if you got to pay to play online, especially at that price, how many people are really going to be throwing down that much wet stinky to pay a fuck-mothering clone of something that you can actually get for a lot cheaper that everybody fucking plays?
Yep.
So that's the thing, buildaworld.net if you want to get into that, but oink bitches.
Oink, oink, motherfucker.
Squeal like a pig.
We got some Warsow.
Pedro, you have a pretty mouth.
Yep, that guy sure has a pretty mouth. But yeah, this is Warsow 1.5. They've released the new version with a new player model, Jason Patpork, the Warhawk. And they've also taken great care to make their latest release run smoothly on the open source Radeon drivers. Good on you. The input code utilizes Xinput 2, and their ship binaries are fully compatible with Ubuntu 14.04 and Debian Wheezy. If you don't think Debian Wheezy is important, you haven't been paying attention. SteamOS and all that. They've also added some new localizations. They've also added some new localizations. It brings the total up to 11 if you don't count English. Still no Portuguese, and I've actually looked at their wiki for the Portuguese translation, and 90% of it is Brazilian Portuguese, and there is no separation between standard and Brazilian Portuguese.
But isn't Brazilian Portuguese best Portuguese?
No.
Not in my opinion.
Well, it certainly
Just
has
saying.
more AIDS.
But no, I'm definitely
at least they
looking
don't
at
choke on-
this, and if we go back here, I mean, just from this update, I mean, this thing looks impressive for a fucking Quake 3 engine game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And
For like
this
a
is-
12-year-old game, yeah.
I mean, that looks like,
Yeah.
Team Fortress 2-ish. So,
Ish, yeah. It's a
Ish.
bit less stylized than Team Fortress 2. But it is very much the Quake 3 engine, and as soon as you start playing, it feels immediately familiar.
that's one good thing about those games. This is at warsow.net. I didn't get a chance to give this one a play, but I always do like these games. A game like this, I'll probably play for about 10 or 15 minutes until you get schooled, because there's the type of people that only play this game. This is one of those games that there's no, like, oh,
There's no casual players. There are
That's kind of the issue with these open source deals, but
bacon enthusiasts.
good
as it
on
were.
that lot. What do we got coming up?
Coming up next, we're going to break Ven's veganism, have some hard-boiled chicken.
Squawk.
And we're throwing rocket chairs at Rocketbirds. Hard-boiled chicken developed by Ratloop. It's using the Fire engine, which is, I've never heard of this thing before. But You gotta love the gist of this game. It's $9.99 or wet stinky cashes. You could have picked it up a couple weeks ago for $2, and it's certainly worth the $2. It's €7.99, and all I need to do to sell this game to you is it is American chickens versus communist penguins. And zeppelins. I don't actually need to say anything more. You guys have gone out and already purchased this game. We're going to tell you if you're going to regret this purchase with our chair explanation. 1 chair means that it's shit. 2 chairs means it's good. 3 chairs means it's... Or 2 chairs means that it's meh. 3 chairs means that it's good. 4 chairs means shut up, take my money.
And quit playing with the lighter.
I will. And of course, we have our categories of doom, which I will subsequently light on fire with my lighter. Make with the working, shiny, and sounds, controls, and fun. All those categories are pretty self-explanatory. If you don't understand them, go back to like episode 50 or whatever, because that was when I was explaining what they actually meant. So, then Rocketbirds, Hardboiled Chicken. Oh yeah, did I mention it's developed by Ratloop? Probably did. Rocketbirds.com, check that out. So then, did it make with the working?
Cluck, cluck, motherfuckers. Yes, it did. In pretty spectacular fashion. We tested it on our minimum system requirements, our Ubuntu 12.04 NVIDIA-powered system of business. Out of the box, one little issue with the controls, but not a big deal. I'll talk about the control sections. But the one thing that it gets dinged a chair for is my monitors timed out while playing it with the X-Clone control pad. They were just like, boom, sleep mode. And that caused me to get killed to death on more than one occasion. So, you gotta jiggle the gerbil, and my big, what is this, fucking Asus, what LED backlit takes fucking years to come back on. So I'm sitting there waiting, and I was like, oh, look, I'm dead. So definitely dinging in a chair for that, but outside of just launching, running, no issues, on the minimum systems, not 4 chairs, because I clicked the wrong fucking button, we're giving it 3. Jamin?
This review is going stellar right now. So
Yep.
This is already a fucking train wreck, so we can stop giving a shit. All right, so I tried this with Turbo Seizure controller. I tried this with my Hori controller here. It's very nice, has a proper D-pad and all. Didn't work with these controllers, so I got a ding at a chair for not working with very common in Xbox controllers. I'll get into why that is a little later on, but 3 chairs for me.
And on my end, I didn't really have any issues with the controllers that would affect gameplay to ding at a chair on makes with the working, but we'll get to that a bit later on my
What is the sorcery?
laptop.
We have problems and Pedro doesn't.
On my laptop with the 5650 HD using the open source Radeon drivers, and on my 10-year-old PC with an NVIDIA 7600 GS, it ran out of the box, no problems whatsoever. 4 chairs.
All right. So because apparently today we're in the Twilight Zone.
Good Lord, next we're going to let dames vote.
Yeah. And up next we're going to watch a very funny comedy show by Dane Cook.
3 chairs.
3 chairs coming up next. Shiny and Sounds. Ben, give us the business.
Shiny and Sounds. Let's just kick over. Look at a little bit of the videos one is to do. Shiny and Sounds. Generic as it is, live music is best soundtrack, and this has it in spades. Not necessarily my favorite band, nor will I go out and purchase their records, but it's definitely pleasing to the ear pussies, and it's a bit of a treat. Really digging the art style. The animated cutscenes are actually worth watching for the story. But almost want to ding at a chair, because the jump animations are a bit shit, but that's just me being hyper picky. And this is like one of the funny things. Near the beginning of the game, I didn't do a whole lot of research because we picked this up like 2 weeks ago when it was on sale.
Yeah, it was on sale for about $250.
Well before the Humble Bundle. And just for shits, then the Humble Bundle was like, oh, we probably need to review it. And I was walking, and there was like this tracked shadow from a headlight from a Jeep, and I was like, I thought it was a Unity game till I did that, and I was like, Unity couldn't do that. This isn't Unity. But definitely for the shiny and sounds, man, 4 cheers. I can't really find a legitimate flaw with it without being picky as balls. J-Man.
Yeah, like Ben, I actually really like the soundtrack. It's good ass kicking music. And as you're running around shooting people to death, that's the kind of music you want to listen to. So the art style, like I said, it's communist penguins versus American chickens. It's pretty fucking awesome. The animation sort of falls apart at times. It doesn't seem like the best quality. So I can't give it 4 chairs. It's not perfect, but definitely 3 chairs. This is a solid effort on Shiny and Sounds.
Yeah, as you guys mentioned, the soundtrack is awesome. I was going to give it 4 chairs until I actually spent an hour with the game looking at those goddamn janky animations. I'm sorry. It's 2014. There's so many 2D platformer games out there like Tank,
Mark of the Ninja,
Guacamelee, Mark of the
Dust,
Ninja, Guacamelee. All those games, those animations look sweet. They look fluid. They look good. This looks like arse. So it only gets 3 chairs.
So that's 3 chairs for Shiny and Sounds. I really gotta say though, those cutscenes are pretty fucking awesome.
They are.
Yeah.
Like I was playing this game with like some company over the other day, and we're watching the opening cinematic, and everyone's just like, "Oh my god, I have to buy this game right now." So, moving on to Control, then, did you feel like you were in Control?
With the controls, this is not where it starts falling apart, but you definitely find some spots in the armor to poke at it with your sword, and by sword I mean penis.
By penis I mean gun.
Penis gun. Gun penis, haha.
Gun penis is best penis.
When you first start...
Oh, welcome to Linux Zardoz cast.
Started out, exclude controller, I had the menu controls up, down, left, right, and I was like, sorting through the menus, and I was like, all right, resolution's fine, hit start. Went to move, and it was like, fuck you. And I'm like, okay. Back out, and I was like, well, let me set the controllers. And it was set for keyboard and gerbil, and I was like, well, then how come the controller was working in the menus from the get-go? It doesn't seem like it really clicked for me. You don't do anything fast in this game either. When you gotta push something, you're on up to it, and you know what it's the X button on the X-Clone controller, which I'm just going to go put down before I drop it and do anything stupid with it. You gotta wait for that button to appear before you can do it. You can't just run up to it like, boom, and try to do it very quickly. Not gonna happen. That goes equally so for elevators, and there's fucking elevators everywhere in this game. You gotta wait, boom, then you come up. You can't just like, boom, hit it, and there's no... I fucking dare anyone to try to do a legitimate speed run on this game without boom, then wait, then do that, because you're going to have to do that. And Cocaine Voltron help you if you get stuck in a crossfire, because if you got to make quick moves left and right, you're fucked.
Forget it.
You're just going to get, killed to death again. And this motherfucker, for whatever reason, really likes to roll. I felt myself rolling. I was like, all right, it's a faster way of travel, but like you're doing that crossfire stuff, trying to left and right, half the time you just end up rolling and getting more deaded. So, with the controls, I'm going to give it a meh, because I think they could definitely tighten them up quite a bit. J-Man.
So, as I was saying, basically all of Ben's points are entirely valid in this. But I have some additional gripes. Number one, I have no problems using this controller on any other game. I thought maybe there was a driver issue, so I spun up a Scapegoat, I spun up Trine, worked in both of those games perfectly fine. We even spun up some like random Unity game that had controller support.
That's what you were up to. All right.
Yeah, that's what was going on there. And yeah, like that controller didn't work. So I went and I tried Turbo Seizure controller, because I love giving epileptic people fits. And that one didn't work. And so I'm like, what? So there's a problem with I don't know. So as a final resort, I have like an old white Xbox 360 controller that came with the Xbox 360 I bought millions of years ago. So plugged it in, Oh, lo and behold, it's working. I have another Xbox controller. Plug that in. Lo and behold, it's working. So third-party controllers don't seem to work with it. I think Ven's worked because it's actually an Xbox controller that fell off the assembly line, as it were. The controls are a bit sticky at times. I noticed that. And I do have to say it because I tried couch multiplayer with roommate. It's very clever. It has a really cool Lost Vikings mechanic where like you're both half-sized chickens and you can jump on top of one another and like fire in multiple directions. So that's pretty cool. But my God, talk about fucking crossfires. They have like guys with shields that beat you to death in like 2 hits, and they flank you, and there's nothing you can fucking do about it. They just murder you. So I'm gonna give this 2 chairs for control.
Yep. Sounds about right. Everything you guys just said. And one thing I noticed is that Ven had problems because the controller was not recognized, or the game didn't set the controller as the default input method right from the get-go. But it did on my end. Go figure. So technically, my PS2 DualShock worked out of the box. Unfortunately, there were some situations where it would fail to recognize the input from the right analog stick, namely those jetpack sequences that you have to aim where you want to fly. Wiggling this thing didn't work. I actually had to keep one hand on the controller, move one hand to the mouse in order to move the aim around.
That's how you know you're a elite gamer.
Doesn't fly, you know.
No pun intended.
And yeah, and kind of like Jordan said, movement here in this game is not an exact science. It's more of a suggestion. You tell the character to move. Sometimes it what's his face will roll. Sometimes he will walk very slowly. So for me, controls, I'm sorry, it's a 2D platformer and the controls suck. 2 chairs.
All right, so that's 2 chairs with the controls. And finally, we have fun. Ben, did you have fun?
Did I have fun? Well, take another look at this video while I read off the notes. I've read, even with all the flaws in this mental little side-scroller, it kept me entertained. I still loathe the Rocket Pack levels, but wanting to learn more about the story, I forced and powered my way through that. That's a good thing, and that's genuinely the point of this. I kept coming back to this ridiculous little thing during the week, because at the end of the day, take that shot. Good game design is best game design, and this has it. I mean, it has that thing, just like, fuck you, I'm going to completely sort this, and eventually I'm at like one of the Rocket Pack levels. It's like, that's enough of that. You know, it's going to be a while before I revisit it, but you know, up to that point, I enjoyed it. I like the story, and there's some things, especially when you get the mind slugs and all that, it doesn't get fuck you hard, but it doesn't even give you a mini-map, which is great. You actually have to remember how to go back through all this shit and do all that, which I think is something that is missing in, you know, games are just too stupidly easy now. This actually makes you use your fucking brain organ for once, and even with its flaws, I'm going to say I had 4 chairs worth of folding fun out of this business. J-Man.
Yeah, like, a lot of my enjoyment from this game comes from the sheer absurdity of it. And just the awesome-ass cutscenes. And you really just want to see what happens next with these cutscenes. That is the only reason you soldier on in this game. It's like watching a movie. It really is. You know, I want to see the film adaptation of this, starring Bryan Cranston as the chicken. But, yeah, no, and that Ivan Drago bird just cracks me up to no end. But yeah, the game is pretty fun. Like I said, like Ven said, the Rocket Pack levels are just go fuck yourself with the Rocket Pack levels. Those things. And you know what? Multiplayer is pretty fun. It's enjoyable to like sort of coordinate with your buddy and cause them to get killed by electrical gates and then beaten to death by penguins with truncheons. But yeah, no, the whole viewed as an entire package, this is a very entertaining game, and it's not perfect. It certainly has its flaws, but it is enjoyable, and that's why I give it the 3 chairs.
Well, that's why they call this section the subjective part of the review.
You're
Because
subjective.
I guess Guacamelee has kind of spoiled me when it comes to these modern 2D platformer Metroidvania type games.
You're a foulist.
Guacamelee was a very, 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 very good Metroidvania game.
Just because he's Mexican, right? No,
it
Look
was.
who's playing
The
favorites
animations
now,
were
Pedro.
fluid. The fighting was, I don't want to say meaty, but it was, and it was an awesome game. And I was hoping this would at least be, up there with Shank, but it isn't. The stealth mechanic, if we can even call it that, involves you leaning into a wall. There, the enemies can't see you anymore. Out in broad daylight, lights all over the place, enemies can't see you just because you're leaning into a wall. And I suppose the multiplayer aspect does save it from the score I had originally thought of giving it. And they could have even gotten a better score if they had kept the original name, Rocketbirds Cock of War. Yeah,
Okay,
that's
yeah,
a much more
I'd
interesting
fucking
name.
buy the shit out of that game if this thing was called Cock of War.
Yep. So, yeah, for me, Rocketbirds Hardboiled Chicken gets 2 chairs for the fun.
All right, so that totals up to 3 chairs. And as we add all this nonsense together and average it, we get a final score of 2 whole chairs. So, gentlemen, final thoughts.
Well, not sure of what. This is part of, I believe, right now, the Humbly Weekly sale, which goes on for like a week and a half. So, in doing that, even if you pay, what is it, like normally 10 quid, right?
Yeah. It goes on sale fairly often on Steam, though.
I mean, definitely if you're into the multiplayer, but if you're just into, what P-Man was talking about, Guacamelee is like a fucking beat 'em up. This requires strategy, ammo conservation, among other things. And the hiding mechanic, that's a bit shit. I rarely used it until it came down to when I had to use it in order to stay alive. That is one of those things, and there's been times when you're out of fucking ammo, you're just fucked. You just restart, which is another throwback to the old fuck you hard, which I enjoyed. I really did. If it's on sale, don't even think about it. Pick this thing up at like half price at 10 quid. If you like a cinematic platform puzzler, that's fun, and you like a quirky story, go for it, man. I can't say anything horrible about it, except for what we mentioned with the controls and all that. It's completely legit, yo.
This is a pretty fun game. I'd come back to it. Certain if it's on sale for $2 like it was like last week or 2 weeks ago, definitely pick this up. Maybe not worth the full price, maybe worth it at 50% off, but you'll at least enjoy it for the cutscenes, and that's...
It was also already included with the Humble Indie Bundle 9, if I'm not mistaken. And now it's on the Humble Weekly sale too, so you've had plenty of chances to pick this up. Maybe it's your thing, maybe it's not. For me, as far as light arcadey Metroidvanias go, Guacamelee was a lot better.
Because
so
Mexican.
That about wraps this sucker up. Coming up next, Ven rages on poor, unsuspecting Google Plus users in our hate mail section.
Because I'm a harmless little fuzzball.
He's such a cute little fuzzball. Look at him. Oh, he's so cute. Look at the face. Look at the face. Look at the face. Don't you just want to squish it?
Sawed off Jew.
And now, last week we were hating on some males. This week we hate on some females. Whether you like it or not, it's the hate mail. And just as a quick reminder, if you'd like to get in touch with us, just go on over to LinuxGameCast.com. Push that wonderful little contact button on the nav bar there. Fill out your name, fill out your email. give us a subject, give us your message, prove you're smarter than a bot, and away we go. Unless, of course, you're trying to promote your crowdfunding campaign, or even Steam Greenlight, if that's still around by the time you finish typing your message. If you do, just make sure to include a playable sort of Linux prototype, demo, alpha, beta, call it whatever. Just include something we can get our hands on. Otherwise, we will not mention your shit, and we will make disparaging remarks about your mother. Very clear? Alrighty then. So, apparently someone's not a drinker.
Your mom's a whore, Trebek. This comes from Evil Penguin from our forums in Chat Realm talking about our drinking game, which you can find the rules in Chat Realm Static. Non-drinker.
Yes.
For the non-drinkers, take a shot every time Jordan looks at the camera.
Oh, yeah?
Of course, now he's looking at the camera.
Oh, no.
I was going to
If
slide.
you're not a drinker. You're having
I was
a lot
completely
of fun
going
right
to let this one slide till I went back and Jordan never looks at the camera.
No, because I'm always
Nope.
looking at the screen where I can see and react to you guys. If I'm looking at the camera, I don't know what's going on.
Well, you talk to the light. I mean, even P-Man's figured this out. When you talk to P-Man, P-Man turns around and looks at the light, and he's like, yeah, hello, light.
Yep.
Yo, will you be my friend?
Hello.
So that's definitely a thing. Coming up next in our hate mail section,
Sound. Chembrotron number 1.
if that is your
What's
real
wrong
name.
with you, Ven? Where's the metal intro? Did you listen to dubstep while editing that thing or what?
Also, yes.
That's actually what I wrote back on the YouTubes. Yes. No, I genuinely cocked up last week. Totally my fucking fault. By the time I got done editing and all that, I realized that I forgot to put a regular intro in, and I immediately went, fuck all, if I'm sliding, shift diving everything over to get that in. So I was like, yeah. My bad, yo. My bad, bro. Are we still cool? I mean, if you want to come over, we'll play some Sonic the Hedgehog. We'll hog it out, okay? But this week, don't worry. Our metal intro shall return.
But yes.
Doesn't Jono Bacon perform that one?
Yeah,
Yeah. Why are we using that again?
because it's metal and it's free.
Oh. And it's free.
So, this comes from Ubuntu Gaming Project.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this all started with a review we did for, what was it? Foul Play.
Foul play, yeah.
And I started off, as like, because I knew some jackhole was going to write in and say, where's you using Ubuntu 14.04? It was just released. And I was like, well, because fuck mothering yesterday, Steam just released an update that said, fix compatibility. And I was like, I want to let that shit sort itself out before I go telling people to do this. Because before that, a simple fucking Google search, and it's like, it was nightmare fuel. It was not it was not playing nice. But that didn't stop Ubuntu Gaming Project. No.
Beta 2.
He writes,
Actually,
go ahead, Ubuntu Gaming Project.
Steam works out of the box on Ubuntu 14.04.
And I retort, yeah, after Valve updated Steam, period.
No, I installed Ubuntu 14.04
Now he's
beta 2
Russian?
before
Really? He's
the
fucking
end
Russian
of
now?
March. And the first thing I've done was installing Steam. It worked out of the box. Never had an issue with that.
Well, allow me to retort again. Did I ask about your personal use case, question mark? Do a fuck mothering Google search on the now resolved issue. Period. Now, an intelligent man would have went, wait a minute, maybe this motherfucker does something with Linux games, has some idea what fuck all he's talking about, and had a week to prepare this shit, because if we come right in here, we hit Control F. You see, this is Ubuntu Gaming Project. Watch this. Ooh, boo. Oh, look at that. There we go. Well, I can't even type. That's great.
So
Boom, here it is right there. Update. The Steam runtime for Ubuntu 14.04. Fuck mothering compatibility. Now, a clever man would have looked that up, stopped right there, and not been a jackhole about it and said, all right, my bad. Maybe I didn't like the way you talked to me, but as usual, Vin, you're right. But nay. How does it go?
It goes something like this. Congratulations, Finn. This is so typical. Sometimes I try to talk to you kindly, and you're always so arrogant and talk to me without any respect or kindness. Peter and Jordan are much gentler than you. You know, this doesn't help spreading the word about your channel. You feel like you're superior.
Wait. No, you stop right there. Do I like
Much
feeling
gentle?
Yeah, much gentle. No. Do I like feeling superior? That's a moot point. I am superior. So that's a story for a different time. That said, I don't suffer fools lightly. And man, you must be like the fuck-mothering lord of them. Seriously, you were wrong. And instead of admitting that, manning up to it, that I really am tempted to come into my macho man Randy Savage, brother. No, I get this passive-aggressive emo diatribe bullshit from you.
Bit of a masochist, too. Because he goes on to say, you think you don't need me for your channel, and I agree with you, even though I'd never treat my followers like you treat me. But remember, I'm not going to unfollow you just because I'm interested in what you do. Dude, that makes no fucking sense.
Yeah.
Well, in closing to this, I would like to read you this. I think this might be very applicable to your current life situation. You can prevent yourself from crying while peeling onions by chewing gum. You can also prevent yourself from crying in any other situation or writing long, emo, passive-aggressive diatribes by not being such a little bitch.
Yeah, bitch.
Mike.
Boom.
And on that bombshell, let's cue the music. And you can always find me cleverly disguised on the Twitter nets at Vinstone plus Vinstone on the G pluses. And one of my heterosexual life partners, Master Spang. What about it?
You can find me not so cleverly hidden at The Burning Fool on Twitter or plus Jordan Swung on Google+.
And somebody not high as a kite wearing a red shirt.
Oh, yeah.
And he still hasn't
it's
died
amazing
yet.
I'm still alive.
Shock
Yeah, I
among
know.
shocks.
You can find me at Unaccounted4 on Twitter or plus Pedro Mateos on Google+.
So at the end of the day, lovely people, you know, normally we would say wave. We're still going to wave at the lovely people. Just remember, don't be a whiny bitch. This is LinuxGameCast. This is not Linux. We respect your feelings, cast, because, oh my god, Daddy doesn't love me. Fuck off. J-Man?
Nope.
How about some waves for the lovely people?
But Daddy loves Pedro.
And his red shirt.
That's debatable. Sometimes. Oh, God.
Well, you know, seriously, when he looks at you, he just shakes his head and keeps walking.
I know. He gives you that, like, brief look of acknowledgement and then...
Why don't you love me, Daddy?
At least he maintains his erection, though. You know, you gotta give him credit for that.
Yeah.
Why don't you love me?